Hey, it's Joe here, and I'm here to record an intro to spotting N.O.Bs or negatively oriented beings in the wild, so to speak. And so, what is an N.O.B or a knob? These are people that have covert or overt negative tendencies, and to be more direct, negative energy. And so these could be people that are full of smiles and that seem to be your best friend or your ally, but secretly you feel like something's up with them. You don't feel good around these people. You feel often an anxiety or a discomfort around them. And they could be in lots of places. They can be in your place of work, they could be out in public, they can even be among your friends and family. And so there is a way to decloak these people using the use of ether, a powerful, positively oriented, subtle energy device. And so various bits of these in their various forms can uncloak these people. But we're going to talk about ways to spot them without using such technology. And you might find some of this familiar actually. And so I have a list here that I wrote while at work of various common tendencies and tics and patterns and behaviors that you might notice in these types of people. And so the main point of this recording is to get you aware of these types of people and to pay more attention to people that do these things and to stop making excuses for them and to stop allowing yourself to be gaslit by them and to stop thinking that you are the problem, because you are not the problem. You are a perceptive person, and you are probably surrounded by at least one person who does these things. And let's just see if this sounds familiar. I'll just get right to it. So I have three sections I'm going to run through on this list. There are N.O.Bs you'll notice in public. So while you're out doing, say, grocery shopping or at the mall or just walking down the street or driving around. I have a section for work, which you could also place in the place of school if you're taking school right now. And then friends and family, which is mostly about friends, but I'll throw in some family too. All right, so what are some things that you can notice in public that happen to you, especially if you have a bright, innate energy, a big heart, just naturally spiritual or naturally open? You will attract these types of people. So let me know if any of this sounds familiar. So first off, strangers staring at you or lingering in proximity or getting too close. This is often paired with sudden anxiety, irritation, tiredness, or discomfort or headache. So usually, at least in my case, if I feel one of these things first, over the years I've learned to look around and to see if anyone's staring at me. If they are, there's probably an energetic exchange going on and they are intently messing with me. And try it out sometime. And you might be surprised how often you find someone staring at you when you feel some discomfort in your head or some heaviness in your heart or butterflies in your stomach. And also proximity. And so these days, they don't have to stare as often. And what I mean by these days? Well, this approach changes over time. And I'll get into that in other videos. But these people, they don't have to look at you to bother you energetically. So as long as they're near you and they find an excuse to hang around your area, their innate energy can mess with you and it can drain you and it can irritate you. So notice if you notice a lot of lingering or loitering. At the grocery store especially, you might notice people kind of looking at groceries, standing close to you and just kind of thinking about which cracker to buy. And then they kind of reach in really close to grab that cracker that's right in front of you. And then if you show that you're, annoyed or peeved, they're just like, well, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just walking around. It's all just random. And of course, the guy's texting, I guess, for some reason. All right, so a loud or grating voice, or one that stands out even if technically quiet. And so people that have a grating or noxious energy, it carries through their voice. The voice is like a carrier wave that is carrying their energy through. And some N.O.Bs, they are skilled with this, so they can really charge their voice, and it just cuts you like a knife when they speak. Here we go. A little thirsty. So if there are some people who have a voice you just cannot stand, even though they can say it with a big old smile and full of happiness, if the voice grates you somehow, that is likely because the energy behind it is grating, and thus you're dealing with an N.O.B. most likely. Okay, also loud noises, so the scuffing of shoes, tapping fingertips. I don't know if you can hear that, but just, if they're waiting or impatient, they're tapping fingertips. Maybe they're chewing gum. Loud with the chair or keyboard, so clacking on the keyboard, or just making lots of noise, bumping their feet against the ground. Anything to distract you or to get into your headspace, through vibration, through noise. Abrasive fashion, this is a big one, especially in public. So loud colors, clashing colors, colored hair, especially two-toned, meaning, one half of it is like blonde and one half is black or some two-tone thing like that, signifying that it's not just one person you're dealing with, but they have another part to them and they're aware of it. The negative half, the controlling half, kind of signifying that they are in essence drones. These are the ones that are so deep in the Kool-Aid, they're essentially drones. They're essentially mercenaries sent to mess with innocent people. And that is getting more conspiratorial, but they are out there, especially in my region. Let's see. Oh, especially, so these colors are their favorites. So the colors black and white, first off, so checkerboard, or just pure black and white clothes of any type, meaning duality, so walking the path between good and evil, and I guess them being knowledgeable and wise about it, so they think they're above it all, and that they can blend the two. Of course, there is more reasoning behind the black and white. It's more of a Masonic thing, because in every Masonic lodge, they have the black and white checkerboard floor, which I think symbolizes walking the middle path, but it still shows embracing evil. So they usually have a good part to them that they consider good, and then that allows them to do the bad because it's balanced or something. So anyways, black, white, red, and purple. So black, white, and red especially is a big red flag. No pun intended. And purple they see as being a color of royalty. And so purple is a beautiful color, and I do like purple. But people that highlight purple or maybe even obsessed with purple, it is a color that is often liked by nefarious types, secret society types, satanic individuals. You wouldn't think so. But yeah, they're not all wearing, rock metal. I sound so old. But they're not all wearing like heavy metal t-shirts and have long hair or whatever. They can look quite sharp. But in any case, they love the color purple because it's royalty and they feel like they're above it all, higher on the food chain. Obnoxious scent, so especially patchouli. It's less common these days, but that was always a giveaway. So bad or aggressive drivers, especially, because N.O.Bs kind of feed off your misery and off your anger. So if they can cut you off, or if they can slow way down before the light turns yellow and red, or do whatever to rattle you on the road, they will do it. And of course, if you are a bright person with bright energy, you will attract these people. So if you're always wondering, why are all the bad drivers out today? They're probably out for you. And I'm not here to make you paranoid or anything, but there are quite a few out there, and somehow they can feel positive energy or are sent your way, which goes into the whole gang stalking aspect or targeted individual aspect, which is something I'll expand upon in further videos, but some of you watching this may be aware of those terms, and you might be one. So, okay. And lastly, clothes and accessories with symbolism. And so there's a lot of symbolism out there. So there could be, the one eye. So they might have clothes with big old eyes on it. There could be various occult symbols, crosses, Egyptian symbols, checkerboards especially, literally a Masonic symbol, checkerboards on clothes, on shoes. There's such a long list of symbols that could be on clothes that I can't really go into it. I will, of course, expand upon that as well. But take a look around, look up occult symbols, and then realize, I see a lot of that in certain neighborhoods or in the mall sometimes. And so symbolism mixed with the colors that I mentioned is even more of a red flag. So, all right, let's move on to work. So what are some patterns or visual cues or audio cues or behavior cues that let you know that you're dealing with an N.O.B at work? And so a big one is passive aggressive behavior. And I'm sure everyone has at least one person in the workplace who, is kind of being friendly, but is saying things that obviously are not friendly, or they're subtly mocking you, or they're subtly making fun of you, but they do it with a laugh and a smile. So it's okay. Very common. And if you're watching this and you're not exactly sure what passive aggressive is or means, maybe look it up on YouTube to see some examples. It's pretty much a cloaked way of bullying. And that is the new way of bullying these days, I feel, is to not make it overt, because these days we are conditioned to call out bullying, hopefully. And that's great. But that just means bullies have evolved and they're smarter about it now. And then if you call them out on it, they'll just say, I was just joking, man, or something like that. So some kind of pathetic way to hide what they're really up to. And so it's often paired with smiles, it's paired with a laugh. Oftentimes they'll make fun of other N.O.Bs who are okay with it, and they're kind of the foil, kind of the protective cloak, so that when they make fun of them, they can then make fun of you. And even if you speak up, and I've done this once, and I'll say, hey, you called me an idiot like 3 times, or stupid 3 times in the past minute. And the person might be like, oh, I call everyone stupid. It's like, And if that ever happens to you, you could say, oh, I've never heard that. Because that's what I said to this person. And her face like dropped. Like her whole excuse for that behavior went out the window. And pretty much she was like, well, I call everyone stupid. It's like, okay, is that a good thing? So I don't know. They'll make excuses. But in any case, passive aggressive behavior or covert or cloaked bullying. Let's see. And so that also goes into the next part, which could be direct bullying. And that's an even bigger red flag. And so if you're being directly bullied, very likely it's an N.O.B. Even if they smile and laugh about it. It's very much still possibly an N.O.B. And let me just remind you guys that are watching this, none of these things are conclusive on their own. What this is it's meant to kind of be a tally or a checklist. And so the people in your life, if they do some of these or more of these, they're more likely to be an N.O.B. And excuse me. And so that's really it. If you find someone that does almost all of these, then you're almost guaranteed to be dealing with N.O.B. And in future videos, I'll show you how to use ether and how to use other techniques to take away their toxic energy and they kind of hollow them out. So even if they try their best to annoy you, they have no ammunition. They have no energy or oomph behind their actions. And eventually, if you keep doing this, they will learn to leave you alone because they realize I keep getting deflated around this person. And maybe it's not worth it. And I've had many N.O.Bs just leave me alone or just be normal to me. And if they forget their place, I'm happy to show it to them. So, all right, let's keep going. So yes, this goes into the next part. So a little too much laughing or smiling. So people that smile all the time or always kind of throw a laugh into everything. I'll admit I'm a really happy guy and I do smile a lot and a lot of things do make me laugh. So this one can go either way, but if it's paired with kind of a noxious feeling, remember that's the key. So if you feel something that makes you feel off when these things happen, that's important because remember, it's all about the energy, and N.O.B is a negatively oriented being, meaning their energy, their core, their frequency is inherently negative, even if they try and hide it well. It does poke out on occasion, especially so if you decloak them, but in any case. So hangs with a clique that with similar negative vibes and notices nothing wrong. And so this is interesting. And so you might have a person or a friend that you think is really cool, and you are pretty sure they're not an N.O.B because they're really nice and kind to you, never feel off around them. But maybe they hang around people that you cannot stand. So very negative people, negative vibes. They make you feel bad to be around. And somehow this person of yours doesn't notice it or kind of says, oh, they're such a great person and they're just blind to it seemingly. Well, here's another take. maybe they're not blind to it, and their sole purpose is to engage people that maybe are a little sensitive and they know it. And then they go and hang out with these negative people that kind of gaslight you and make you think, is any of this real? I mean, this person feels normal and she or he doesn't notice anything wrong with those people. So is it just me that has the issue? No, it's not. You're caught up in a shell game. You're being misled and misdirected. So the person that is hanging out with these negative sorts and noticing nothing wrong may be an N.O.B with very low vibes. It's very possible and very common. So let's move on. Here's a fun one. So a person who laughs with everyone else, but not with you. So a person that you see is always jolly, always laughing, either making jokes or laughing at other people's jokes. But if you say something that's funny, even if other people laugh, they are very careful not to laugh. Of course, this flies in the face of the other one, which is people that laugh too much. You'll also find people that make it a point not to laugh with you, to make you feel like you're not funny or something. And so if you have a low self-esteem, this can get to you because you'll feel like, oh, geez, I thought that was really funny, but he didn't laugh at it or she didn't laugh at it. No, it's just a game. I actually had one N.O.B in particular when I said something that was quite funny, and he never laughs at me or never did. And I said this, and he of course didn't laugh, but everyone else around him laughed, to the point where it was obvious that he was doing something on purpose. And then after a few seconds, he then joined into the laughter, after having a very serious face after I said my joke, which was just obvious, acting and fakery. And so you might notice that sometimes. Just really fake, phony people, really for the most part, can signify an N.O.B. Sometimes it does mean that it's just a really nervous person trying to fit in, and so they fake it to fit into the crowd. But other times it is N.O.B behavior. So again, kind of conflicting. It's kind of confusing sometimes. That's why you got to match up multiples of these to be sure that you're multiples of these symptoms, so to speak, to be sure of what you're dealing with. Okay. So many of you are familiar with this. So promotions are given to the far less qualified, or to the jerks, or to the bullies, or N.O.Bs, and not you, which signifies an N.O.B run workplace. And newsflash, most of our jobs and businesses are N.O.B run. To get power and to get control, you often have to be a certain type of person. And if you're at the top and you are that kind of person, you will only hire people that are like you, especially with the whole N.O.B culture, which is to promote themselves and to downplay and make broke and make inefficient normal humans. So if you notice this as a pattern in your workplace, the bosses and those higher up are likely N.O.Bs as well. Okay, another common one. So drone-like viewpoints that match precise media talking points, and it's all they talk about. So people that talk about the politics, the things in the news, the things happening overseas, gender stuff, etc. Just climate change, things that are talked about over and over and over again. And it makes you feel tired, and it makes you feel negative, and it makes you feel hopeless. So the people that focus on this stuff, they could just be depressed, sure. They could just be really worried about it. But at the end of the day, it's a person spewing negative rhetoric endlessly, and you feel bad because of it. Doesn't matter what it is they're talking about. Doesn't matter if you agree with it. If you feel bad around it, that is a common N.O.B tactic. And these people might be doing it on purpose for that reason. It's energy vampires. They often talk about something endlessly to wear you down and suck your energy out. And you just feel bad or drained after being around these people. Let's see. So excessive wide-eyed expressions. And so this is a super common one with N.O.Bs. And again, this one used to be more common, but you'll still notice it occasionally. And so essentially their eyes are wide, or they talk and they widen their eyes often. So it's kind of a jolt. So they'll be talking and then they widen their eyes, and it's kind of meant to shock you and to make your nervous system go like, whoa, okay, what's up? Because it's a little freaky. And so I would have mentioned this in the public part, but the thing is, you're not around these people enough to notice it as a pattern. But if you work with them or you go to school with them, and as they're talking, they kind of widen their eyes a lot and stare at you non blinking, the eyes are the window to the soul. And by forcing their wide eyed look into you, it kind of jolts your psyche or your energy construction a bit, especially if they charge themselves with energy and send it through their eyes, which again sounds like superhero or fantasy stuff, but if you learn how to wield and move energy, you'll know how to do this stuff. And those that do this often do. So keep an eye out for that, especially see the way that it makes you feel. If it irritates you or if it feels invasive or jolting or jarring, it's very much likely that there's energy behind it and it's on purpose. Let's see. So cartoonishly deep frowns used as humor and used frequently. And I'm not very good at this. I might not have the muscles for it, but it's essentially a cartoonish upside down U. I can't really do it without pouting. But it's people that are like, oh, I have to work today at blah, blah, blah. They just stare at you with this cartoonish, mad, sad face. And they do it all the time. And so they think it's funny or whatever, but essentially it's hypnosis to talk to your subconscious about life sucks, I hate this, I'm sad. And that pushes it onto your psyche, so you're like, oh, it's funny and cool to be sad and to hate life. And which brings down your energy and which brings down your power. So look out for people that have the cartoonish frowns often and they think it's like a joke or something. And who knows, if it's the only thing on this list they do, maybe it is a joke. But it's very much an N.O.B tendency. They love the huge frowns. Just like they love the cartoonish smiles. Really is extreme emotion. They kind of jar you up and pull you down, to pull you with them and to match their tempo and to match their energy. That's how they steal your energy. And so it's one thing you'll notice that they do. And I mentioned the endless mirroring and parroting of negative talking points through the media, but also just constantly complaining or whining or negative. So that doesn't have to be about media talking points. It could be about anything. It could be about their girlfriend, their boyfriend. It could be about their family. It could be about their boss or their workplace, etc. Just endless negativity, endless whining, complaining. We all know someone like that. And lastly, excessive gossip. So people that are always trying to spread discord, always trying to make certain people look a bad way to others, or to just get people talking about things we probably shouldn't be talking about at work, constantly gossiping. That's actually very much an N.O.B trait. And they often try to pull you in and get your viewpoint on these things you shouldn't be commenting on. And so they're trying to entice you into sin or entice you into speaking negatively about innocent people, or to entice you into hating on an N.O.B or someone that's kind of meant to be hated on, but thus making you a hateful person by engaging in it. And the last one is a kind of a complex one, friends and family. So I'm going to just breeze through it a bit because it's really deserves its own video because it's very nuanced if you have people this close to you who are doing these things, because it can be very tricky to spot and to understand, especially if it's within our own family. But I'll just talk about it a little bit. And so usually N.O.Bs among friends, if they're obviously negative to you, you'll probably, hopefully on your own, just be like, I'm done with that. I'm not going to participate in that anymore. We're not friends anymore. See, so they usually don't go for the overt thing, because then that means they can't, prey on your life anymore. And so usually it'll be a covert action. And so this means that they are usually very nice to be around, and they might laugh at your jokes, and they might make great jokes. But at the same time, they always have a way to have you seeking their approval. And so they might act a certain way that seems really refined or really humorous, or they talk to other people and they have just a great way of speaking. They have connections. Maybe they got a lot of money. And so you're always trying, actually, N.O.Bs always usually have a lot of money. They don't have to, but again, we're in a society that is actively trying to promote and raise them up and throw money at them. And so this means that you and we are always subservient to them, or always sucking up to them, and that is the way it's designed. But in any case, you'll notice that's a facet of it. You're always trying to get their approval. They're always just a little bit out of your reach, or maybe they're a lot out of your reach. Also, sometimes they'll say things that might make you feel stupid or inferior, but it's just a small little thing, kind of just a little jab. And sometimes it's a little joke, but you always feel kind of like a second-class citizen around them. But of course, there are times where they elate you way up and you feel like, wow, I'm really up there now. I'm really here. Only to have that rug pulled out from under your feet almost as quickly, because they'll find a way to knock you back down to where you were, or even lower. And so you'll notice a lot of that behavior. You also might notice things that make you uncomfortable, such as little jokes that insinuate either crime or a lack of humanity. They might say opinions that sound devoid of humanity. Like, for example, I'm glad the whole Nazi thing happened, because from that we learned how to make rockets. And without rockets, we wouldn't have satellites or internet or whatever. And that's a rough take, but I have heard that before from N.O.B. And so they'll say things that are very extreme opinionated, or that are extremely negative in that way. But you hold them in such high esteem that you kind of make excuses for them, and you kind of laugh it off. But that is a thing you'll also notice as well. So, and you're kind of either goaded into accepting that viewpoint, or you're somewhat alienated or somewhat, pushed down a bit if you don't agree with it. And in any case, I think that's enough for friends and family, because a lot of the stuff I mentioned for work and in public does apply to friends and family as well. I will do more content later on friends and family, because again, it is a deep topic. And so that is the end of the video. So I know it's a lot of things I just described to you, and I imagine many of you are thinking, oh, I see that all the time, but that's just a normal person. I don't feel anything weird about them. That's great. That's fine. That means you're not being actively harassed or attacked by these people. You're not an active target, hopefully, which is great, and I'm happy for you. However, if you are curious about whether what I'm talking about is true or accurate, and maybe you do feel negative or drained or anxious or uncomfortable around these people, yet you have to be around them, and maybe you've always assumed it's just something that you have, and maybe you have an anxiety medical issue, or you have some sort of brain chemistry issue. Maybe you don't, and maybe you're being led to believe that, and you're just being picked apart and fed on by these N.O.Bs or N.O.Bs that are around you. And so if you feel for a second that I might be onto something here, and that you might be experiencing this, you should really, really reach out to me, and please get some ether. I do have some free samples. You can get one and test the stuff out. All you have to do is hold it and breathe in, and let that energy kind of flow into your body, this strong, positive energy. And as you take in that energy, negative energy around you becomes more contrasted. It stands out more, okay? And so if you want to confirm this stuff for yourself, get some ether. And I even have directional ether, so that means that one end of it, I don't know if you can see this, it's very faint. It's the purple up here. But one end is marked so that energy goes in a straight line. And you can aim this at people and see if their vibe changes, or see if their behavior changes, or if they become more grating or more annoying, or if their symptoms lessen a lot and they just kind of chill out. That is the promise of ether and what it can do. And so I will do another video later on showing you how to actively decloak N.O.Bs with ether. So all you can do for now, I would say, is look for the tenets I've mentioned here and see if you notice it in the people around you. And if you do, I implore you to find out the truth once and for all. And the only way to do that is with subtle energy technology, a strong, positive subtle energy technology, that is ether. I hope this opens your eyes to the truth a little bit. N.O.Bs are quite common, especially in big cities. So educate yourself, arm yourself, and find out the truth for yourself. Thank you, and you guys have a great day.